Quite the journey today. A lot of technical difficulties and just stuff needing to upgrade. It's kind of like our physical bodies needing to upgrade, our emotional bodies needing to upgrade. So if you're here, welcome. And if you are catching this on a social media platform, head on over if you want to interact live with me, if you want to ask questions, if you want to chat with me. I take questions. If they're appropriate, I answer them. If they're not, I might answer them not in a way you want. But head on over to katherinemcintosh.com/connect and you will see a live video happening right now. And you can interact with me on my website, which is really cool. So, this is the first time we're testing it out. I tested it on social media, but it didn't go live on the website. And now we're live on the website, which is pretty exciting. And today's topic, I'm going to be doing this a lot more and hopefully interacting with you to, just give you some information, give you some tools, give you some awarenesses, give you some tidbits that you can start implementing and integrating into your life to make your life easier. Because I don't know about you, but I kind of went through hell and back recently. I was diagnosed with acute bronchitis, and I can't tell you the last time I've been to the doctor. We're talking like 2 decades since I went to the doctor for a sickness. I usually just do at home remedies. I have been to the doctor for 2 emergencies, but that's a different story, right? Broken bone. Take me straight to the ER. So today's topic, which I'm really excited to get started with you, is called Why Trusting Your Instincts Can Change Your Life. And I did a little test version that showed up on social media, mostly on YouTube earlier. And I was telling this story, there's so many ways in which our instincts are speaking to us. And sometimes we pay attention to them and really cool things happen, or we avoid things that wouldn't be so cool by trusting our instincts. And other times we ignore those instincts and we end up paying for them. So I was telling a little story earlier about probably my biggest instinct ignoring mistake. I've had a few. I've had a few hard knocks in this life, sort of the gift and curse of being an empath, because as an empath, I usually can hear people's heads, which is sometimes okay, but not really. So, the challenge that I have as an empath, and maybe if you're an empath, you can relate, is that I don't always know when I'm hearing somebody's head that it's somebody else's head. So sometimes if I'm in a funk or things aren't really going as planned and I'm a little off my game and maybe I haven't, done my routine for the day or I didn't work out in the way that I wanted to, or just had like, some transactional experiences that didn't go in the direction that I thought, it can kind of throw me off. And so when I'm off my game and I haven't sort of attuned to my own light or attuned to my own brilliance or attuned to my own energy, um, I I can get sort of caught up in other people's heads. And so it's hard to determine when I'm in that place what's my truth and what's not my truth. And, so I have to work, I'll say hard. It's not so hard. It's actually quite easy. But when I'm in a funky place, so I had acute bronchitis for 3 weeks, and I'm just now getting back to myself. I'm just now getting like, okay, game time. And it's really cool because our bodies are these living, breathing machines that are always taking care of us. It might not show up the way we want, but I promise you, and I said this to a friend the other day, I said, "Hey, when you hit the darkness, guess what's on the other side? Light, right?" And so dark times always invite lightness, right? The light is coming. And so if you've been in a dark time, I can relate. And the light is here and the light is coming. And the more you keep going, the more you keep finding those things that work for you. And so we're in this time right now. This is just my interesting little opinion is we're in this time right now in which things that used to work for you are no longer working. Your body is changing. So foods that used to work really well for you, your body's like, not working. Or people that you really liked hanging out with, not really working anymore. Or maybe it's the job isn't working, or maybe it's your relationship. And I'm not saying the relationship needs to end, but something in the way that you're relating to each other needs to shift and change. And that's true for every area of our lives. You know, a lot of people are black or white or in or out. And so when something starts to not work, it doesn't mean that that relationship or that dynamic or that experience is done for or over. It might mean that it's just needing a shift in perspective. It's just needing an upgrade. It's needing a different way of looking at it. And so here is my, I would say to date, my biggest instinct blunder. The one where I knew and I ignored it. And it was a pretty costly mistake. In fact, it cost me close to $1 million. And here's what it was. It was back in my 20s. I was quite successful. I was extremely determined. I was a little bit stubborn, but I loved people and I still love people and I still love interacting and I still love engaging in the world. And, you know, COVID has is the last 3 years of our lives have sort of turned things upside down, but when I was in my mid-20s and uber successful, I loved what I was doing. However, I didn't love who I was in relationship with. And so at 25 years old, I was in a white dress with a veil in a foreign country, and I was walking down the aisle about to marry this man that I thought was the love of my life, but I knew that we had had some events prior to getting married that were big, giant red flags that I ignored. I was young, and I was like, I'm always changing. And if I'm always changing, then the people I'm with are always going to be changing. So we'll get through whatever we need to get through. My philosophy at that point was like, if we love each other enough, we can get through anything. Oh no, not if you're both not willing to do the work. And he wasn't really willing to do the work. And so as I'm walking down the aisle in my white dress with my veil, with this giant, beautiful bouquet, the whole church was covered in lilies. Excuse me. The whole church was covered in lilies, and so as I'm there, my whole body was like, "Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it." And in my head, I was like, I can't disappoint my family that flew halfway across the world to be here for this wedding. I don't wanna disappoint my parents. They spent all this money, right? Like, well, my mom. My dear, hardworking, amazing mother. And I knew walking down the aisle, like, I shouldn't be walking down the aisle right now. I knew it. Every bone in my body knew it. And he was extremely unfaithful. He ended up being a pretty severe alcoholic. And because I said I'll deal with this later, and instead of dealing with it in the moment, I ended up getting really sick. I ended up getting injured. He was extremely violent. I was unsafe for a long time. But I don't regret that. And here's why, because not following my instincts, ignoring those loud red flags, led me on a healing journey, and it led me on a path of awakening. And I've had the pleasure of of working with people all over the world for the last 20 years, and I feel so honored and so lucky. And the great thing about me is I can sit with some of the most intense, like, jaw-dropping, heart aching, like, uh, experiences with people that literally they're on their deathbed or they're on their knees or they've done the worst thing imaginable or the worst thing imaginable happened to them, and I can hold space for it with total compassion and total understanding without making them wrong, without making it wrong, so that guess what? We can transform it, so we can heal it, so we can change it, and so we can, give it something much greater. And so as I was walking down the aisle, I went, I'll deal with this later. And it was quite a costly mistake. Now, I could also look at it and go, yes, and that mistake led me where I am today. And that mistake has made me millions, right? Because I dove into energy work. I dove into teaching consciousness. I dove into working with clients in probably the most challenging circumstances in their life and helping them through those hard times. And I can tell you without a doubt that hard life knock experience where I ignored my instincts, right, also led me on a journey. And so it's not about getting it right. It's about starting to comprehend and understand and figure out where are your instincts communicating with you? Where is your body trying to give you those life choice lessons or those life choice signals? And sometimes it's goosebumps. Sometimes it's like, getting like your heart opens. Sometimes it's a contraction, right? Sometimes it's an awakening or an enlivening. There's so many different ways in which it can show up, and it doesn't really, how do I say it? You never know, right? You never know how it's going to show up, when it's going to show up, where it's going to show up, but it does show up. And I want to invite each of you to consider that your instincts, literally, when you hone in on them and you're like, "Oh, it's the goosebumps. Okay, I know." Right? Or, "Oh, it's like getting punched in the stomach. I should not I should pay attention to the red flags." Right? Those are all ways in which your body is communicating with you towards the direction of choice that will either expand your life or contract your life. And we've all had those moments of like go left and you ignore it, right? It happened to me in Europe. It's happened to me actually in several different countries where I get this hit to go a path I've never gone before, to take a weird left instead of a right. And I've avoided riots. I've avoided taxi strikes. I've avoided mobs of dangerous people. um, I've just by literally listening to my gut instincts and my instincts of like turn left, go right, go to the chapel or go, to a yoga class. And so all of these moments are taking a pause in your day. It's not that it's like, "Oh, wow, that was so serendipitous." It might have been, but it was serendipitous because you were paying attention. And we all have been there where we ignore it and it doesn't turn out so great, but guess what? It does turn out. The biggest sort of invitation is to not judge when you didn't listen to your instincts. It's to go, okay, wow, let me look for the moment where I knew and I ignored my knowing. I'm going to go back in time. And if that same scenario happened again, how would I do it different? Okay, I would definitely I now know 20 years later, walking down the aisle, if I get that knot in my stomach, right? I know not to go through with it. I know to be okay with disappointing people. And for those of you that are empaths, a lot of empaths are also really bad, meaning meaning really good. You're really good at people pleasing, which means you're bad at taking care of yourself. So you're more concerned about what will people think if you bail on them, or if you change your mind, or if you decide that not to go through with something that you had committed going through with. If your gut is speaking to you very loudly, you then get the chance to practice being okay with not being a people pleaser. And for empaths, I promise you, this is a very, very challenging thing, or it's a practice that you have to start getting used to. Is get used to being okay with disappointing people, right? So that you can go after the path that you're meant to be on, so that you can go after your dream life. And look, we also can convince ourselves about our instincts when actually it's just fear because we're scared of what's on the other side. And if it's fear, you want to ask this question. And I learned this a long time ago when I was studying shamanism in my early 20s. Was fear and excitement are the exact same vibration. Literally on a Richter scale, same vibration. 99% of the time, if it's an unknown, let's do it this way. Okay, it's opposite. We're doing opposite. If it's an unknown, right? If it's an unknown and we're like, "Oh my god, that's fear," because we're afraid of something we don't yet know. But if you've had a past experience, right? And you had a really positive experience with this vibration, fear and excitement, same vibration, and you've had an experience with this vibration, you go, "Oh, it's excitement. I'm excited." Right? But they're the same vibration. And so oftentimes we can try to talk ourselves into our instincts telling us no. We're afraid. And if we're afraid, then there's a reason, then we shouldn't go through with it. But oftentimes you want to ask, is this fear or excitement? And you'll be surprised. I would venture to guess that 90 plus, 95 plus percent of the time, it's actually excitement. But we've been entrained to label that excitement as fear. And I got to tell you, my friends, we are in unprecedented times. We've never been here before. We have never been here before. And so we can't prepare for something that hasn't yet happened, but we can be willing to experience, right? We can practice. And I always say to people, you can never be ready, you can only be willing. And for those of you that have ever given childbirth, have ever been mothers that literally had to birth babies, doesn't matter how much breathing techniques or books you read, or how much you prepare yourself or coaching or whatever it is, when you're in mid labor, it doesn't matter how much you prepared. You cannot be ready for that experience. You can only be willing to go through it. And I think that's a great lesson for all of us in these uncertain and changing times, is we have to be willing to go through it. And you're not always going to know ahead of time, but here's the beauty of it. You're going to know in the moment when you trust your instincts. And so it's getting used to the ways in which your instincts communicate to you, your body communicates to you, right? We have more brain stem cells in our guts than we do in our actual brains. And so there is truth to the saying, trust your gut, because your cells are like firing, you know, like crazy to get your attention, and it is an art to practice. Self awareness is an art that you practice, right? Getting clear on your choices is an art you practice. Being in the present moment, right? Being conscious in the present moment is a art that you practice. Excuse me. And so, my friends, I want to invite you to consider that you do know, that you've always known, that your body is an aware, alive, interactive, breathing machine. Maybe not a machine is the right word, but it's an entity that desires to interact with you to create a greater future. And it's a future you've never had before. It's a future you can't be ready for, but you can be willing, right? You can practice. You can do all the preparation you can, but in the moment, there's that moment where you're about to cross over to the other side, that edge. And on that edge, you're not ready for it, but you can be willing, right? And it's pretty cool. So, for those of you where this might be new to you, I might be new to you, welcome. I'm excited. I just started a radio show called Trusting Your Gut, and it's on the Om Times radio station. So you can look it up online, Om Times Radio. My radio show is called Trusting Your Gut. It's live every Monday at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I live in Colorado, a little place called Aspen, and I've been facilitating and teaching bodies all over the world, and coaching and consulting and doing energy work and helping people clear their homes or their businesses for a long time. And I forget, like, this is my normal. And even though I have been practicing for close to 20 years, paying attention to the subtle energies, it's really easy for me to tap into other people's universes and figure out you know, they might what might benefit them on their next steps. However, I'm not always great at it when it comes to my own life, and I'm getting better and better. Why? By practicing. Just like life, we practice. We practice where we want to go. And, it's pretty cool. So you've landed either on social media or on my website. If you're on social media, you can find these lives and interact with me live. Um, by going to katherinemcintosh.com/connect. And I'm going to start going live quite a bit on this platform where you can ask me questions. If you're dealing with some health issues, I don't need to see your face. I might need your name. I might need where in the world you live, maybe your age, and I can kind of tap in and see what is required. And I've got some really cool classes and interactive experiences coming up. We have a live online 3-day event um, called Don't Diet, Be Happy. It's all about bodies. And it's about really like honing in on your intuition, honing in on your instincts. And here's what I've found is that a lot of us are, especially in the last 3 years, have been carrying like some unknown trauma, right? Trauma about being isolated, trauma about losing your job, trauma about not knowing the future like you did before. And, it's easy to hang on to the past and look at, well, what if? But it's also just as easy, it's just a foreign concept and a new practice to allow yourself to enter into the unknown, into the void, into the possibility of a future that doesn't yet exist. And so, if you're curious and you want to join me for a 3-day live experience, I'll actually do it. Ready? You can see it. Is this Don't Diet, Be Happy 3-day live event. I'll be doing live streaming from Colorado, from Aspen, and you can join anywhere in the world. It's 6 hours a day for 3 days. And normally this class is $14.97. And we've decided to drastically reduce the price to less than what it costs to do a private session with me. So normally my private sessions are 575, and you can do this 3-day class with recordings, right? You can get personal facilitation, and you'll be able to let go of the invisible and maybe not so invisible traumas that your body's been carrying and hanging on to, so you can start to create what's next for your future. So you can get clear in your body. So you get clear in your emotional realm and your physical realm and your energetic realm, and start to mobilize forward towards a future that you can get excited about instead of a future that you're scared about. And so if that is something that's appealing to you, click on the link, check it out, right? Should have appeared if you're on my website on the katherinemcintosh.com/connect. It'll show you. And you are welcome to join us for this live event. It's happening Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And yeah, it's pretty exciting. And you'll get the recordings, you'll get the audio and the video, and you'll be able to walk away with tools and resources where you go, oh, wow, yep, I've been in this body for 30 years or 40 years or 50 years or 60 years. And if I've been in this body for 60 years, I must be the expert. I just wasn't ever taught how to translate the information of my instincts, right? The gut information or the goosebumps or the heart expansion or even those contracted moments. And life is meant to be enjoyed. And yes, we all go through darkness and we all go through hard times and we all go through moments of feeling like, wow, I did not plan for this one. But isn't that what life is all about, is just enjoying those everyday moments and getting clear with yourself about what you want. And if the 3-day event isn't something that you can do this time around, you're invited to join us on the membership experience. It's brand new this time around, and it's 2 live calls with me a month where we get on Zoom, we get to see each other's smiling faces, and I can sort of help you, contribute to you, facilitate you, and invite you um, to get out of your traumas, to change the vibration of the trauma in your body so that you can begin to live again and thrive again and be excited again. And, you can also be in a place where you're like, yes, I love my life and I'm ready for more. I'm ready for what's next. That also is a possibility. So we start these live calls. I just unleashed it. These live calls where you get to see me live. You don't have to be on camera if you're shy. I can still read your energy, but you can be on camera with me. I get to see your smiling face if you like, and facilitate you into your truth and what's true for you. And so, my friends, in these amazing, crazy, adventurous, changing times, I invite you to start paying attention to what's true for you, start paying attention to what's being asked to change in your life, and to start paying attention to where your energy is being called. So that's all I got for you today. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your energy. Feel free to share the link to this website with other people and they can come interact, chat. I can sort of answer any questions, and look on this page for a lot more lives happening soon, coming to your computer screen, and um, doing some really cool stuff. And it's just getting started. So if this resonates with you, you can also check out the radio show on Om Times Radio. check out my website, but go to katherinemcintosh.com/connect. And that's where you can get these videos that we will start doing. This is the first one of many. And I look forward to seeing you somewhere, sometime, either online or in person. And in the meantime, continue practicing all the ways in which your instincts are trying to get your attention. Thanks for being here. See you next time.